there's so many business owners that cast such a wide net that they've kind of set themselves out to fail. But then another thing that you really said there that I that is huge is you talked about the idea of kind of, you know, building out this process and finding people to do it. I find a lot of business owners, especially if they're solopreneurs, they're the logjam, man. Like they don't find people to, you know, carry out the services for them so they can grow. Did you guys struggle with that at all? And if you did, how did you handle that for yourselves? Because I feel like a lot of people, they're a technician, they know how to do it, and they're like, oh, well, I can do it and we'll figure it out. But that's a problem.
It's a total problem. Number one, the earlier thing about, you know, when people say that, our market's everybody, that in itself is definitely off base. If you really look at any great company, you look at Apple or Facebook even. Facebook was initially for college students and was within college campuses. They focused on that audience, expanded out. Most companies, if you look at the data, you look at the survey the contracts, it's not everybody. There's actually an audience for a company. There's a target public for the company. So you got to understand that. And number two, scaling out to have the people. One of the things we did very, very early is we wrote up the instructions for how to do each role. And we did that for the basic roles. So we had how to sell this exact thing. We wrote that up. We created essentially a manual. So now we have Richter University, but we created a manual for every single role and wrote out the core, you know, operating SOPs, standard operating procedures for how to do that exact role. And then we could shed those roles. And we did that from a very early stage. And that helped immensely because as soon as I could start shedding roles, like get out of sales, get out of finance, get out of production, and start turning that over to other people, we would hire people and say, here you go. And we actually had a binder. We go, here you go. Here's the manual, study this, get through it. And then we check them out. We run a couple drills on it, make sure they could do it, and then get them doing that role. The more I could shed, the more we could grow. And I started shedding the roles down to the point of the core things that I want to be working on. I'm good at sales. I'm good at administration, writing programs, vision, expanding the future, doing things like that. I wanted to focus on product development, things that we're doing there, marketing. But the other things I wanted to get out, I had to get away from those things and get other people to take them over. And the only way to do that was just pull all-nighters, stay up late, and essentially write those up, right? Completely just sit there and write it up and get it off me. And that's really how you're going to free up. And so training, you got to build a culture of training. You got to build essentially a university within your company because one of the fears I had, and one of the things that led to it, was that I had one person specifically that I'm thinking about that they knew how to do this one role. And I thought, well, if that person leaves, they're going to leave with that role in their head. And that freaked me out. And I was at an event at the time and I realized that thought. And then I frantically went and started like writing up every single role for every single person.